Welcome back to the channel. We're back with our commander deck profile today with Sonic the Hedgehog. We already covered this one in a more powerful deck profile, but this one is definitely a fun one as well. Being a more budget-friendly version of the deck. This haste, gotta go fast. When Sonic the Hedgehog attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control with flash or haste. And then whenever a creature you control with flash or haste is dealt damage, create a tap treasure token. So, we like to create treasure tokens with this deck, but our main thing is wanting to have plenty of creatures with the flash and haste in order to make sure we get those +1/+1 counters onto our creatures. Then we're going to proliferate those counters in order to make sure that we get plenty of damage onto our opponent. But that's a general overview of the deck. Let's get into it card by card. We have Arcane Signet for some mana, Binding of Dasa, in order to make sure we could draw some cards, keep getting into our cards with Flash or Haste, and then creatures your opponent control have to attack this turn if able, making it so that we then have to block them and have to get those +1/+1 counters onto our creatures if they didn't have anything strong enough to get them removed. Commander Sphere for some additional mana, along with a little bit of draw power, Felwar Stone for that mana and draw power, Lightning Grease, a way to give our creatures haste if they don't already have it, in order to make sure we have some more creatures get those +1/+1 counters on. Soul Ring for some mana. Swift Boots, another way to give our creatures haste in order to do the same thing Lightning Grease did. Talisman Conviction for some mana. Talisman Creativity for the same thing. Same with Talisman of Progress. The Fire Crystal, another way to give our creatures haste in order to get those +1/+1 counters on them. Reaver Cleaver, equip creatures +1/+1 and trample in order to make sure that we had those additional stats on the creature. This way we could then survive some hits, get those +1/+1 counters onto our things, and also create plenty of treasure tokens to cast more stuff in the later turn, and wait for its bobble for some mana. Academy Manufacturer, whenever a creature you control with flash or haste is dealt damage, create a tap treasure token. Um, maybe when they're dealt that damage, we're going to create a clue, food, and treasure token. Anger, another way to give our creatures that haste. Relia, the law above, flying, vigilance, haste. A creature would haste themselves already, but whenever a player attacks with 3 or more creatures, potentially us, we get to draw a card. And then whenever a player attacks with 5 or more creatures, potentially us once again, deal 3 damage to each of your opponents, and you gain 3 life. So, that's going to be whether we attack with 5 creatures or whether our opponents attack with its 5 creatures. Aurelia, the War Leader, flying, vigilance, haste. Whenever it attacks, for the first time each turn, untap all creatures you control, and then after this phase, there's an additional combat phase, allowing us make sure we can swing into those creatures again and again, since we're already going to be wanting to deal damage with them. Even Mind Sensor, really good creature there with the flash, allowing it so we stop our opponents from searching their decks, whether our opponent's playing green and trying to search for a whole bunch of lands, whether our opponent's playing white and trying to search for all their artifacts and enchantments. Both are super helpful for us. Captain Lannery Storm, another creature with haste, that'll give us some treasure tokens, and that benefits off of our treasure tokens getting sacrificed, giving us some additional stats, allowing us to swing in for some additional damage. Kadar Commando, another good creature with flash. They'll certainly like to get those +1/+1 counters put on them, but then we could certainly sacrifice them as well to put those counters on. Sorry, I think it's what's it called? Zach Fair for a second, but no, this is just removal. Crashing Draw Bridge, creatures you control gain haste on turn. Now we give our creatures haste to get +1/+1 counters on everything, not just the a couple creatures. And yeah, overall good ability. Devilish Valet, in order to double its power and toughness, anytime another creature enters, we're going to be having creatures enter left and right, because all of them are going to have haste, all of them are going to deal more and more, help us deal more and more damage to our opponent. He also has haste himself, getting those +1/+1 counters, allowing us to start at like maybe 2, 3, 5, allowing us more than 1 to start doubling from. Enduring Courage, another way to give our creatures haste, and a little bit of a stat boost while we're at it. Hard to get rid of it. Enduring Curiosity, we're going to be trying to deal plenty of damage to our opponent, so may as well have a way to drop cards off of it. Same thing with Binding of Dasa. Aaron and Giada, in order to cast all of our creatures with flash off the top of our deck, in order to make sure that we don't have to wait around and draw them. Gada and Luzu, another good creature with flash, gets plenty of +1/+1 counters onto the creature that's helping you defend, along with getting some +1/+1 counters on itself because it has flash. If Sonic attacked. Ginger Brute can be blocked as turn except by creatures with haste, but overall, that could be quite a big benefit for you. Especially you got plenty of +1/+1 counters onto Ginger Brute. You could have it swinging for a bunch of damage. Goldspan Dragon, another way to benefit off of our treasure tokens, have them tap for 2 rather than just the 1. Well, tap and sacrifice. Herald of Secret Streams, the creatures control with +1/+1 counters them can't be blocked, allowing us an even easier way to deal out damage to our opponent. Illusory Ambusher is dealt damage, draw that many cards. Draw that many cards, create that many treasure tokens. Which one do you want? Kilo, Apogee Mine, helps you proliferate just a little bit more, getting us +1/+1 counters onto our creatures. Lazelf, Lacket's Champion. Why stop at 1 +1/+1 counter when we get 2 on our creatures? Laelia, it has haste itself. Whenever it attacks, exile top card from your library, play that card this turn. Why not? The only thing is that is when it attacks, so if it's a creature with haste, you don't get that big of a benefit off of it. And whenever one or more cards are put into exile from your library, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, allowing you more and more there, especially if Sonic's attacking. Malcolm, Alluring Scoundrel. Actually, we just pulled this from the Lux Caverns Ixalan box. Flash for itself, but also get some chorus counters that will then proliferate on itself as well. Plume Create Escort, another creature with flash. That'll get the +1/+1 counters on it and deal damage since it's flying, but also give one of our creatures a little bit of protection with that hexproof. Thundering Raiju, a haste. Whenever it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, maybe Sonic, maybe itself. Deals X damage to each opponent where X is the number of modified creatures you control, which is going to be all of our creatures with haste. I see it. Herbrest, a hidden. Give our creatures haste, nor give us +1/+1 counters on everything. Venser, Shaper Savant, another creature with flash, enters battlefield, return target spell or permanent to its owner's hand. Doesn't have to be ours, could be our opponent's. Super fun ability for us. And Winged Hive Tyrant, another creature with haste. Now, other creatures you control counters on them have flying and haste. Allow us to get those counters. All of our creatures with counters that already have flash or flying, not flying, flash or haste, to deal some damage because now they have flying. And for enchantments, we have Frostcliff Siege. Creatures you control get +1/+1, trample haste, another way to enable that haste. And then you also draw some cards if you need that, depends where you're at in the game. Mass Hysteria, another way to give creatures haste, same with Rising of the Day. And then Windcrag Siege, if we're going to have Sonic get that ability when he attacks, may as well double up on it. Why not? And then for our second half of the deck, well, more than that, we're at 56. We have Big Score for some more treasure tokens, along with some draw power. Cast Warp in order to get rid of our opponent's worst thing on their battlefield, in order to get them the best thing out of their deck. It's potentially Group Hug. Cinderclasm, 1 damage to each creature, deal 2 damage instead. Potentially a board wipe for your opponent's little small stuff. Counterspell for a counterspell. Demand Answers for some draw power. Dovin's Veto for a really good counterspell. Generous Gift for some removal. Make a Stand for some protection for our stuff. Negate for counterspell. Path to Exile for some removal. Same with Pongify. Restoration Magic for some protection. Stroke of Midnight for some removal. Source of Plashis for some removal. Unbreakable Formation for some protection. And your Temple Under Attack for some more protection. And then Blasphemous Act for a board wipe. Chart a Course for some draw power. Earthquake, deal X damage to each creature without flying, and each player while we're at it. We'll have the treasure tokens potentially. Temple of Vengeance, another way to create a whole bunch of creatures with haste. They'll be dealing plenty of damage to our opponents. And then finishing up, we have Vandal Blast for the removal of all those pesky artifacts. But that's the deck there. If you guys like the deck and you want to see more like this, make sure you like and subscribe so you can stay tuned for that. If you guys have your own comments on how you'd run a deck, leave it down there in the comment section, and we'd love to read them. Thanks so much, though. Hope you have a great rest of the day.